Imagine having at your disposal a simple one-page map of what the world will look like in the coming year. A map that provides cryptic clues as to what developments are likely to shape the world ahead, and one that tends to be prescient. Well, fortunately for us, such a map exists, and it's published each year by the Economist magazine, a periodical with which the notorious Rothschild banking family has a long-standing connection. It's called The World Ahead, and it contains a variety of guesses pertaining to various political and economic themes around the world. Now, the predictions themselves aren't necessarily worth reading, as they tend to be tedious and not always on point. What is worth focusing on, though, is the magazine's cover itself, which typically contains a number of symbols that convey a deeper meaning into what the ruling class desires to foist upon the world in the upcoming year. And in many cases, those predicted developments do end up materializing. Now, you can think of this as the world's political rulers laying out the global agenda for the year ahead. The World Ahead 2026 issue was released this November, and it's extremely telling. This year's cover can be seen in this video, and while it's a bit hard to discern without magnification, an in-depth examination of the symbolism it contains is worth the effort. So let's start with the top part of the pictorial collage and work our way downward. Now, the first symbol that caught my eye in this year's cover can be seen in both the upper left and the upper right parts of the collage. It's a depiction of what appears to be a tethered drone. Several of them, in fact. The entire circumference of the globe on the front cover is entirely surrounded by such drones, which I think is noteworthy. Now, the significance is obvious. The ruling class, through its handmaiden, the mainstream media, has been talking of the need for the so-called drone wall around the world for the past year and has committed untold billions of dollars to this project. For instance, in her State of the Union address in September, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made the following demand, quote, "We must invest in real-time space surveillance so that no movement of force goes unseen. We must heed the call of our Baltic friends and build a drone wall," end quote. In case you haven't noticed, drone surveillance has dramatically accelerated nationwide here in America, with nighttime drone sightings becoming increasingly common in just the last year. It started, I think, with the infamous drone sighting controversy off the New Jersey coast last November, which I believe is a form of pre-propaganda to prepare the public's mind for seeing drones in the sky as an everyday occurrence, which it has now become. Indeed, if you gaze at the night sky, wherever you may reside, you're likely to spot spy drones without even having to wait too long. And most of these unmanned aerial vehicles are police drones designed to surveil the area for signs of so-called criminal activity. But what they're really looking for, one suspects, is any type of activity the ruling class considers subversive. They're also, I think, designed as a psychological deterrent for anyone considering disobeying one of the government's directives. For example, during the infamous events of 2020, it was mandated in states across America for citizens to stay home during certain hours of the day or stay off certain roads or even beaches. But at that time, the powers that be had no real way of real-time monitoring to ensure compliance. Well, now they do. So in the event of a future event to the one we all experienced 5 short years ago, they can now watch in minute detail for any deviation or disobedience of their directives. And on a personal note, in my occasional nighttime jogs on the local beaches here in North Carolina, I typically spot 1, 2, or even sometimes 3 drones hovering immediately overhead, sometimes even flashing a spotlight in my direction to let me know they're watching me. I've even had them follow me around. These are obviously police drones, and they're becoming ubiquitous fixtures in the nation's airspace in towns and cities across the land. But the Orwellian nature of these aerial invaders cannot be understated. What the World Ahead 2026 cover seems to be predicting here is that drones will become even more common in the coming year. So be prepared for increased monitoring in the months ahead, and remember, the eyes in the sky are watching you. Now, the second theme, which appears to be quite conspicuous on the cover, is of various military weapons, including tanks, missiles, swords, a soldier firing a bazooka, and what appears to be a cargo ship firing artillery at a depiction of the United States, an obvious reference to a trade war. Now, putting aside trade war considerations, let's focus on the traditional military war theme pictured here. There's no need for in-depth explication in this case, as the interpretation is self-evident. War War, and even more war, is undoubtedly on the horizon for 2026. Military activity is likely to be seen in a number of theaters across the world in the coming months, and it's possible that a war of even greater magnitude than anything we've witnessed in recent years is coming our way. Even more intriguing was the representation of a human brain with an antenna connected to a wire, which in turn leads straight to a video game style controller. The implication here is that the ruling class plans to unleash human brain chip interfaces that allow people to be controlled as if they were robots. Now, this is a subject that has been very near and dear to Elon Musk's satanic heart in recent years, as he's talked incessantly of it. His Neuralink company technology is undoubtedly what's being referred to here, and it looks like 2026 will be the year where the development of human cyborgs via brain chip implants will pick up steam. Speaking of Elon, another theme common to the World Ahead cover is the presence of different types of robots, which is another one of Elon's projects. They include robot dogs of the type deployed by police and military, humanoid robots, and industrial robots. The imagery is a clear nod to the head to what appears to the powers that be see as an acceleration of the robotization of America and the rest of the developed world, as if we needed even more automatons in our lives. Nevertheless, our self-appointed rulers have decided to unleash even more robots upon us in 2026, so be prepared. Now, yet another repetitive theme on the cover is something we saw on last year's cover, only it was less emphasized. This time, however, the imagery is repeated so often and with greater prominence that it appears the theme will become a major one in the year ahead. It's of several syringes and pills scattered across the representation of the globe, which I can only assume means we'll see a large number of magic potion rollouts, if you know what I mean, and other new pharmaceutical products in the new year. Now, here's a theme on the latest cover which I found quite fascinating. It's of numerous wine glasses containing a red liquid, presumably wine, spilling out of the glass in a violent fashion. The glasses are positioned around the globe, depicted on the magazine's front cover. A number of analysts have already provided their interpretation for this arcane symbol, including predictions of global fragility and instability, chaos reaching everyday life and comfort items, and a prediction of hardship and collapse, especially in America. But here's the view I tend to favor: elite disruption and wealth under threat. Now, in the book of Revelation, we hear the following prophecy, quote, "And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine," end quote. The word wine in this instance is an apparent reference to wealth and luxury, which are apparently to remain untouched during a particular future period of the final judgment of the earth's inhabitants. But in the Economist's latest forecast issue, the wine of luxury appears to undergo a shakeup in 2026, which suggests bad times could lie ahead, not just for common people, but for the rich as well. It remains to be seen what could catalyze this event, assuming it unfolds, but it will be nonetheless extraordinary if it does occur. Now, on the topic of money and wealth, the cover makes a likely reference to the stock market outlook for next year. It includes a depiction of a market chart in red ink with 2 pennies surrounding it, one of which is upside down, an indication that this is a financial graph. Now, the graph itself is hard to discern since it appears to be largely trendless for a good part of what I presume is the year ahead, but when examined from start to finish, the graph suggests to seem a down year for the financial market. Well, what's most conspicuous about the chart is the extreme volatility it suggests. Now, I'm not willing to venture a guess on this one, as it may not actually be a reference to the stock market, so I'll only say in reaction to it, no comment. But whatever it refers to, it doesn't look to be particularly pleasant. And finally, the single most prominent image on the magazine's cover is of a birthday cake with the number 250 on it, surrounded by celebratory balloons, which of course speaks to the semi-quincentennial, or 250th anniversary, of the United States Declaration of Independence in 2026. Ominously, immediately behind the cake is a blue hand clenched in a communist-style salute with a handcuff on it connected to the cake. The interpretation is apparent. 2026 is the year that the growth of authoritarianism that we've seen increasing in the last few years will reach a climax. The trends predicted to transpire in the world ahead 2026 are ominous, to say the least, And if there's any truth or accuracy to any of these predictions, it looks like a singularly difficult year lies ahead. This is South Bay. Thanks for listening.